I always thought I was smart enough to get away with anything. Social media had taught me that if you can control the narrative, you can control reality. For 32 years, I'd been the victim in every story I told, and people always believed me. Why wouldn't they? I had the perfect combination of vulnerability and relatability that made strangers want to protect me, to save me from whatever crisis I was facing this week. My name is Tessa Wilson, and this is the story of how I tried to destroy my stepfather's life to save my own lifestyle, and how it all came crashing down in exactly 3 hours. The sheriff's cruiser pulled up to our house on Magnolia Drive like it was making a routine stop. I stood on the front porch in my designer athleisure wear, the kind that costs more than most people's car payments but was supposed to look effortlessly casual. My phone trembled in my manicured hands, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of what I thought was going to be my greatest performance yet. Behind me, my mother Brooke hovered in the doorway. At 50, she still looked good for her age, but there were worry lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before I moved back in. She'd been a registered nurse for 25 years, had me when she was 18, and spent most of my life cleaning up my messes while telling herself she was being a good mother. Preston Walsh stood on the sidewalk like he belonged there, which technically he did. At 48, he had the weathered look of a man who'd spent 15 years working oil rigs in conditions that would break most people. His work jacket still smelled like crude oil and industrial soap, and his hands bore the permanent stains of someone who fixed things for a living. He'd married my mother 3 years ago, and I'd been living in their house for the past 2 years, supposedly getting back on my feet. The truth was, I'd never been on my feet to begin with. "Ma'am," the sheriff said to me, his voice carrying the kind of authority that made my stomach drop. "This property is legally owned by Preston Walsh. You need to vacate the premises." The words hit me like ice water. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. 3 hours earlier, I had been the one calling the shots, the one with the power to destroy someone's life with a few carefully chosen lies. Let me back up and tell you how I got here, because the story really starts 6 months ago, when my content creation empire began its spectacular collapse. I'd built my online presence around being relatable, sharing my struggles as a 20-something trying to make it in Arizona. My Instagram account, or as Tessa Living Free, had peaked at 38,000 followers who believed I was just like them, broke, struggling, but optimistic about the future. What they didn't know was that my lifestyle was funded entirely by credit cards I'd opened using Preston's address and excellent credit score. Phoenix is expensive. When you're trying to maintain an influencer aesthetic, the designer coffee shops, the boutique fitness classes, the carefully curated brunch spots, it all costs money I didn't have. But I'd figured out how to get it, and Preston's 2-week rotation schedule on the oil rigs up north made it easy to hide my activities. Every time Preston left for his rotation, I'd intercept mail, sign for packages, and use his spotless credit history to open new accounts. Store credit cards, personal loans, even a few high-limit Visa cards that the banks practically threw at someone with his income and payment history. Preston made $85,000 a year, keeping crude oil flowing through pipelines that fed half the Southwest. And his financial responsibility made him the perfect cover for my irresponsible spending. The system worked beautifully until it didn't. The first crack appeared when Desert Diamond Casino started sending promotional mail addressed to Preston. I'd been using his credit cards for cash advances during my girls' nights out, which were actually solo gambling sessions where I tried to win enough money to pay off the growing debt. The casino's player rewards program had flagged the unusual activity pattern, large cash advances followed by significant gambling losses, all tied to an account holder who'd never set foot in the building. The second crack came when my follower count started dropping. The algorithm had changed, my engagement was down, and the brand partnerships that had been trickling in completely dried up. Without income from sponsored posts, I was trapped in a cycle of borrowing money to maintain the lifestyle that was supposed to be generating money. By the time the bank fraud alerts started appearing, I owed more than $26,000 across 7 different accounts, all tied to Preston's name and credit. The math was simple and terrifying. I was facing federal charges for identity theft, credit fraud, and wire fraud, prison time, a criminal record, the complete destruction of whatever future I thought I had. That's when I decided to flip the script. If Preston was going to be connected to financial crimes anyway, Why not make him the perpetrator instead of the victim? I'd spent 2 years studying him, learning his routines, understanding his relationship with my mother. I knew exactly which buttons to push and which fears to exploit. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. I would create evidence that Preston had been stealing from me, threatening me, making me feel unsafe in my own home. I'd use my social media skills to document everything, build a compelling narrative of a young woman trapped with an abusive stepfather. When the investigation began, they'd find a scared victim instead of a calculating criminal. I spent 3 days preparing. I edited screenshots of fake threatening messages, created false transaction records showing money being transferred from my accounts to his, and practiced the trembling voice I'd use when I called the police. I even researched the signs of financial abuse to make sure my story was believable. Preston came home from his latest rotation on a Tuesday evening, tired and covered in the dust and grime of industrial work. He had no idea that his stepdaughter had spent the previous 2 weeks setting up his destruction. The evening I put my plan into motion started like any other Tuesday in our Scottsdale neighborhood. The desert heat was finally breaking as October settled over Phoenix, and the palm trees along Magnolia Drive rustled with the kind of dry wind that made everything feel brittle and ready to snap. Preston walked through the front door at 6:30, his steel-toed boots leaving traces of fine dust on the travertine tile my mother had insisted on when they renovated last year. He moved with the careful precision of someone who'd spent decades working around machinery that could kill you if you made the wrong move. His face bore the permanent squint lines of a man who'd stared into desert sun while troubleshooting pipeline issues that most people couldn't even pronounce. "How was the rotation?" my mother asked, the same question she'd been asking for 3 years. She was folding laundry at the kitchen island, her nurse's scrubs neatly pressed and ready for tomorrow's shift at Phoenix General. After 25 years in healthcare, Brooke Walsh had seen enough human suffering to develop a protective instinct that bordered on the pathological. It made her easy to manipulate. "Good," Preston replied, which was his standard response. He wasn't much of a talker, which had always worked in my favor. The less he said, the easier it was for people to project their own assumptions onto his silence. I was upstairs in what used to be the guest room, the one I'd gradually transformed into my content creation studio. Ring lights, camera equipment, and a carefully curated backdrop of succulents and motivational quotes covered every available surface. This was where I'd built my online persona, where Tessa Living Free had convinced 38,000 people that I was just another struggling millennial making the best of a difficult economy. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was about to destroy that persona along with everything else. I waited until they'd finished dinner, until Preston had retreated to the living room with his laptop to review maintenance reports, until my mother had started her evening routine of checking medical journals and planning the next day's patient care. Then I opened my phone and began the performance of my life. The first step was the notification sound. I'd pre-recorded several different banking alerts and saved them as custom ringtones. The one I chose was harsh and urgent, the kind that makes your heart race even when you're expecting it. I let it play just loud enough for both of them to hear from downstairs. "Oh, no," I whispered, just loud enough to carry. "Oh, God, no." I gave them 30 seconds to process the sound, then called down the stairs with a voice that shook perfectly. "Mom, can you come up here? I need to show you something." Brooke appeared in my doorway within minutes, her maternal radar already activated by the tone in my voice. Her dark hair was pulled back in the practical ponytail she wore when she was worried, and her brown eyes held that familiar mixture of concern and resignation that came from dealing with my crises for the past 32 years. "What's wrong, honey?" I held up my phone with a screenshot I'd spent hours perfecting. It showed my banking app with several transactions I'd never made, all traced back to our home address. The amounts were significant enough to be alarming, but not so large as to be unbelievable. 800 here, 1,200 there, all adding up to what looked like systematic theft. "Someone's been accessing my accounts," I said, letting my voice crack at exactly the right moment. "The bank sent me fraud alerts. Look at these transactions. They're all coming from this house." Brooke took the phone and studied the screen with the analytical mind of someone who'd spent decades reading medical charts. She was thorough, methodical, and unfortunately for my plan, she was also starting to ask the right questions. "Tessa, when did these transactions start?" 3 weeks ago. I lied smoothly. Right after Preston came back from his last rotation. I didn't want to say anything because I wasn't sure, but now I gestured helplessly at the phone. Have you changed your passwords recently? I did after the first alert, but it didn't stop. Mom, I think someone in this house has been watching me, learning my patterns. I found these on my computer too. I showed her the fake threatening messages I'd created, supposedly sent from an anonymous email account to my personal inbox. They were masterpieces of psychological manipulation designed to make Preston look like an unstable man obsessed with controlling the women in his household. I know you love him, I continued, but I'm scared. What if he's not who you think he is? I watched my mother's face as she processed the information, saw the exact moment when her protective instincts overrode her logical mind. She'd raised me alone for 15 years before meeting Preston, and that independence had created a fierce loyalty to her daughter that I'd been exploiting for decades. We need to talk to him about this, she said finally. No! I grabbed her arm, letting real panic creep into my voice. What if he gets angry? What if he hurts one of us? That sealed it. The suggestion of physical danger activated every protective circuit in my mother's brain, and I could see her mentally shifting from skeptical to defensive. She was no longer evaluating evidence. She was preparing to protect her child from a perceived threat. Okay, she said. Okay. Come downstairs with me. We'll handle this together. As we walked down the stairs, I felt a mixture of excitement and nausea. Everything was proceeding exactly as I'd planned, but there was a small voice in the back of my mind wondering what would happen when Preston inevitably protested his innocence. I'd prepared for that too, of course. I had responses ready for every argument he might make, every piece of evidence he might try to present. What I hadn't prepared for was the possibility that someone else had been preparing too. The confrontation happened in the kitchen, under the harsh LED lights that made everyone look guilty of something. Preston was rinsing his dinner plate when we walked in, his movements methodical and unhurried. He had the kind of presence that came from working in environments where panic could kill you, calm, measured, always thinking 3 steps ahead. It should have warned me that I was walking into a trap of my own making. Preston, my mother said, and her voice carried a tension I'd only heard a few times in my life. We need to talk. He turned off the water and faced us, his gray eyes moving between my mother's worried expression and my carefully composed mask of fear and vulnerability. I'd practiced this look in my ring-lit mirror for hours, perfecting the exact combination of hurt and terror that would make any observer want to protect me. What's going on? He asked, drying his hands on the dish towel that still hung where it had for the past 2 years. I stepped forward, holding my phone like it contained evidence of a war crime. I know what you've been doing, I said, my voice trembling with just the right amount of righteous anger mixed with fear. Preston's eyebrows rose slightly. I'm not sure what you mean. The money, I continued, showing him the phone screen with my fabricated evidence. My bank accounts, the threats, I have proof. I watched. His face carefully as he looked at the screenshots, searching for any sign of panic or guilt that would validate my accusations. Instead, I saw something that made my stomach clench. Recognition. Not the recognition of someone seeing their crimes exposed, but the recognition of someone identifying a familiar pattern. Tessa, he said slowly, I haven't touched your accounts. Then how do you explain these transactions? They're all traced back to this house, to this computer. I pointed at his laptop on the counter, the one he used for reviewing pipeline maintenance reports and sending emails to his supervisors. Preston set down the dish towel and crossed his arms. His work shirt stretched across shoulders that had been built by 15 years of physical labor. And for the first time since I'd known him, I felt genuinely intimidated by his presence. I think, he said carefully, there might be another explanation. That wasn't the response I'd prepared for. I'd expected denial, anger, maybe even threats that would further support my narrative. I hadn't expected calm analysis. What other explanation could there be? My mother demanded, her protective instincts now fully engaged. Someone in this house has been stealing from my daughter and threatening her safety. Preston looked directly at me, and I felt exposed under his steady gaze. Tessa, how much do you currently owe on credit cards? The question hit me like a physical blow. It was so specific, so targeted, that I knew immediately he wasn't guessing. Somehow, impossibly, he knew. I don't see what that has to do with anything, I said, but my voice had lost its earlier conviction. Humor me, Preston said. Rough estimate. My mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water. The number was burned into my brain from countless sleepless nights. $26,437 across 7 different accounts, plus interest that, compounded daily like a financial cancer eating away at any possibility of ever being free. That's not relevant, I said finally. Preston pulled his phone from his pocket and tapped the screen a few times. I got an interesting call today, he said, from the fraud department at Chase Bank. They wanted to verify some unusual activity on accounts associated with my address. The kitchen suddenly felt too small, too hot, like all the oxygen had been sucked out through the desert-dry air conditioning vents. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, could feel sweat forming under my carefully applied makeup. They were very thorough, Preston continued. Asked about cash advances at Desert Diamond Casino, large purchases at Nordstrom and Sephora, payments to Instagram promotion services, all made with cards that were supposed to belong to me, but showed spending patterns that didn't match my lifestyle. My mother looked between us with growing confusion. I don't understand. What's happening here? What's happening? Preston said, his voice still maddeningly calm. Is that your daughter has been using my credit to fund her lifestyle for the past 2 years. The bank has security footage of her using my cards, transaction records showing the purchases, digital fingerprints linking every fraudulent charge back to her devices. I felt the walls of my carefully constructed reality beginning to crumble. That's insane, I said, but the protest sounded weak even to my own ears. Why would I show you evidence of theft if I was the one stealing? Preston's expression didn't change. Because you needed a scapegoat, someone to blame when the investigation inevitably started. You figured if you could frame me first, make yourself look like the victim, nobody would think to look at you as the perpetrator. The accuracy of his assessment was terrifying. He'd seen through my entire plan with the kind of methodical precision he probably used to diagnose pipeline failures. Preston, my mother said, her voice uncertain now, these are serious accusations. They are, he agreed. Which is why I've already spoken to a lawyer. Those 8 words hit me harder than everything else combined. A lawyer meant documentation, meant investigation, meant the kind of scrutiny that would expose every lie I'd told and every crime I'd committed. I felt my carefully maintained composure beginning to crack. This is crazy, I said, backing toward the kitchen island. Mom, you can't believe him. Look at the evidence. Look at what he's been doing to me. But when I looked at my mother's face, I saw doubt creeping in. The protective certainty that had driven her just minutes earlier was being replaced by the analytical mind that had made her successful in 25 years of nursing. She was starting to ask the right questions, starting to see the holes in my story that I had been so sure would remain hidden. The next few minutes felt like watching my life implode in slow motion. Preston's calm revelation about the bank investigation had shattered my confidence, and I could see my mother's protective instincts wavering as she processed the implications of what he was saying. Tessa, she said slowly, is there something you need to tell me? This was my last chance to salvage the situation. I could feel control slipping away like sand through my fingers, but I'd spent 32 years perfecting the art of manipulation. If I could just hit the right emotional notes, trigger the right protective responses, I might still be able to turn this around. Mom, please, I said, letting tears gather in my eyes. Real tears this time, born from genuine panic rather than practiced performance. You've known me my whole life? Do you really think I'm capable of what he's describing? It was a masterful appeal to emotion over logic, designed to make her choose between believing her daughter and believing evidence. For a moment, I thought it might work. I saw the conflict in her eyes, the maternal bond warring against growing suspicion. Then Preston pulled out his laptop and opened it on the kitchen counter. Brooke, he said gently, I need to show you something. The screen filled with a Chase Bank fraud investigation portal that I'd never seen before. Preston's fingers moved across the keyboard with surprising dexterity for someone who spent most of his time working with heavy machinery. This is what they showed me today, he said, turning the screen toward my mother. Transaction history for 7 different credit cards, all opened using my personal information, but showing spending patterns completely inconsistent with my lifestyle. I watched my mother's face as she absorbed the data. Her nursing background had trained her to read charts, to interpret complex information, and to spot patterns that others might miss. The evidence was overwhelming. Restaurants I'd visited for, content creation, stores where I'd bought props for my Instagram posts, cash advances that coincided perfectly with my gambling losses at Desert Diamond Casino. The bank also provided these, Preston continued, clicking to another tab that showed security camera footage. The images were grainy, but clear enough to identify me using his credit cards at various locations around Phoenix. My mother's hand went to her throat. "Tessa, what is this?" I felt something primal and desperate clawing its way up from my chest. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd built, was disappearing before my eyes. The comfortable lifestyle, the social media presence, the image of myself as a struggling but sympathetic young woman. All of it crumbling because I'd underestimated the man I'd tried to frame. "It's fake," I said, but even I could hear the hysteria creeping into my voice. "He's making this up. He probably paid someone to create fake evidence to cover up what he's been doing to me." Preston's expression remained infuriatingly calm. "The bank has your fingerprints on the applications, Tessa. Your signature, your driver's license information. They have recordings of phone calls where you provided personal information to verify the accounts." Each word was like a nail in the coffin of my carefully constructed lie. I could see my mother's expression changing from confusion to understanding to something that looked dangerously close to disgust. "How long?" she asked quietly. 2 years, Preston replied, "since about 6 months after she moved in." $26,000, I blurted out, and immediately regretted it. The admission had slipped out in my panic, confirming everything Preston had said. My mother stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. $26,000 of fraud in our home, using Preston's credit. I was desperate, I said, switching tactics to the last play in my manipulation handbook, complete. Vulnerability. The influencer thing wasn't working out. I couldn't get brand partnerships. I was facing eviction from my apartment. I panicked. "So you decided to destroy my husband's financial life to save your own?" The word husband hit me like a physical blow. In that moment, I realized that my mother had made her choice. She wasn't going to choose blood over evidence. She wasn't going to protect me from the consequences of my actions. "Mom, please," I tried one last time. "I can fix this. I can pay it back." "With what money?" she asked, and her voice had gone cold in a way I'd never heard before. "You don't have a job, you don't have income, you don't have anything except debts and lies." That's when I made the biggest mistake of my life. Cornered and desperate, I went nuclear. "Fine," I screamed. "You want to choose him over your own daughter? Then I'll call the police. I'll tell them he's been threatening me, abusing me, making me feel unsafe. I'll tell them he forced me to open those accounts." The silence that followed my threat was deafening. I saw something change in Preston's face. Not anger, but disappointment. Like he'd hoped I might have some shred of decency left. "You're going to double down," he said quietly. "You're going to try to destroy an innocent man rather than face responsibility for your own crimes." "Get out," my mother said suddenly, her voice sharp as breaking glass. "Get out of my house." I blinked, confused. "What?" "You heard me. Get out. You don't belong here anymore." For a moment, I thought she was talking to Preston. Then I realized she was looking directly at me. "Mom, you can't." "I can and I will. You've lied to me, stolen from my husband, and now you're threatening to file false police reports. Get out of my house." I stood there in shock, watching my mother transform from my greatest ally into my worst enemy. The power dynamic that had defined our relationship for 32 years had just reversed completely. "Fine," I said, grabbing my phone and heading for the door. "But this isn't over." I walked out into the desert night, already pulling up the police non-emergency number on my phone. If they wanted to play hardball, I'd give them hardball. I'd report Preston for financial abuse, for threats, for making me feel unsafe in my own home. What I didn't know was that Preston had already made his own phone call. 3 hours after I walked out of that house, convinced I held all the cards, I found myself standing on the same porch watching a sheriff's deputy climb the front steps with a folder in his hand. But he wasn't there for Preston Walsh. He was there for me. Those 3 hours had been the longest of my life, spent pacing my mother's driveway while crafting the perfect victim narrative for the police. I'd rehearsed my statement dozens of times, perfecting the tremor in my voice, the strategic pauses where emotion would overcome me. I was going to tell them about Preston's controlling behavior, his financial manipulation, his threats when I tried to resist. What I hadn't counted on was Preston's 15 years of experience managing crisis situations in high-pressure environments. While I was outside rehearsing lies, he was inside making strategic phone calls to people who actually mattered. "Ma'am," Officer Shane Collins said, looking directly at me, "I'm here to serve you with notice of pending charges in an ongoing fraud investigation." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Pending charges? I'm the victim here. I called you about my stepfather." "Yes, we received your complaint," Officer Collins interrupted. "We also received a comprehensive report from Chase Bank's Fraud Investigation Unit, complete with documentary evidence, security footage, and digital forensics linking you to multiple counts of identity theft and credit fraud." I felt the blood drain from my face. "That's impossible." Officer Collins opened his folder and began reading in the same calm, professional tone that had once made me feel safe when I thought the law was on my side. "Tessa Marie Wilson, you are hereby notified that the Maricopa County District Attorney's Office has filed the following charges: 7 counts of identity theft, 12 counts of credit card fraud, 6 counts of wire fraud, and 1 count of filing a false police report." Each charge felt like a separate punch to my solar plexus. I looked past the officer to where Preston stood on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, watching my world implode with the same calm expression he probably wore when diagnosing pipeline failures. "The false police report charge," Officer Collins continued, "stems from your attempt this evening to file malicious and knowingly false accusations against the victim of your fraud scheme." "This is insane," I said, but my voice came out as a whisper. "I'm being framed. Ma'am, the evidence is overwhelming. Your fingerprints are on credit card applications. Your image is captured on security cameras at multiple locations using fraudulent cards. Your digital devices show internet searches for how to open credit cards with someone else's information and statute of limitations on credit fraud." That last detail hit me like ice water. I'd forgotten about those searches, forgotten that nothing you do online ever really disappears. In my panic and desperation, I'd left a digital trail leading directly back to my own guilt. Behind Officer Collins, I could see neighbors gathering. Mrs. Rachel Thompson from across the street stood in her driveway with her arms crossed, and I realized she'd probably been recording everything with those security cameras she was always bragging about. The perfect suburban neighborhood that had provided the backdrop for my carefully curated social media content was now witnessing my complete humiliation. The district attorney's office has also issued a civil asset forfeiture order, Officer Collins continued. All items purchased with fraudulently obtained credit will be seized pending resolution of the criminal case. I looked around wildly, mentally cataloging everything I owned that had been bought with Preston's stolen credit: my camera equipment, my designer clothes, the jewelry I wore in my Instagram posts, my laptop. Even my phone had been purchased with one of his cards. I was about to lose everything that had made up my carefully constructed identity. "What happens now?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. "You have 48 hours to vacate these premises," Officer Collins said. "You'll receive a court summons within 10 days. I strongly recommend you retain legal counsel." Legal counsel? With what money? I had $17 in my checking account and no legitimate source of income. Everything else had been built on fraud, lies, and theft. As Officer Collins walked back to his patrol car, I found myself alone on the porch with my mother and Preston watching from the doorway. The desert wind picked up, scattering the carefully maintained landscaping that had provided such a perfect backdrop for my content creation. "Mom," I said, turning to make one final appeal. "Please, I know I messed up, but I'm your daughter." My mother looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not disappointment, but something worse. Pity mixed with disgust. "You're 32 years old, Tessa," she said quietly. "You've been lying to me, stealing from my husband, and manipulating everyone around you for years. I'm done enabling this behavior." "So that's it? You're choosing him over me?" "I'm choosing right over wrong," she replied. "Something you clearly never learned to do." Preston stepped forward, his voice calm and measured. "Tessa, you had every opportunity to take responsibility for what you'd done. Instead, you chose to try to destroy an innocent person to cover your crimes. That's not desperation, that's malice. I wanted to argue, to rage, to somehow turn this back around on them. But standing there in the desert twilight with criminal charges hanging over my head and nowhere to go, I finally understood something that had eluded me for 32 years. Actions have consequences. For the first time in my life, I couldn't manipulate my way out of the mess I'd created. I couldn't charm anyone into fixing my problems. I couldn't play the victim because I was the perpetrator. As I walked away from the house that had never really been mine, carrying nothing but the clothes on my back and a phone that would soon be seized as evidence, I realized that my greatest skill, my ability to manipulate reality through storytelling, had finally met its match. The truth doesn't care about your narrative. It doesn't respond to tears or manipulation or carefully crafted victim stories. It just sits there, patient and immovable, waiting for the lies to collapse under their own weight. I'd spent 3 hours thinking I was the author of Preston Walsh's destruction. Instead, I'd written the final chapter of my own.